So a big earthquake is coming, and that is what part 2 also talks about. A big earthquake is coming. I'm not sure if they're the same earthquake or if it's two different earthquakes, because the other prophecy actually has a location for that one, but this one, he didn't exactly say where this one, but he says that America's going to start off her entry into the existing decade. So we are in the middle of a decade right now. It's 2024. We're about to hit the middle of that decade, 2025. But he says that as we're penetrating into this decade, America's going to start to experience earthquakes, and she's going to have a big 9 earthquakes soon. When God says soon, some people will wait for 3 months and say, do you see how these lies from that channel just increase? But then I've been with God a long time, and I've been seeing that what I can see are birth pangs are definitely increasing, because some of these prophecies, Russia and China, I've had Russia and China prophecies since 2014. I've had those prophecies since 2014, and Russia wasn't doing a thing in 2014, 10 years ago. And now there's not a thing that Russia is not doing. So that one took time, but then since the time of publishing, since I started publishing those prophecies in 2019, it's been 4 years, 5 years, and then the time period between prophecies is getting shorter and shorter. But a big earthquake is coming, and God says that while America is dealing with the aftermath of that, understand, every nation is like a body. Every nation is like a body. When 9/11 happened, it didn't touch people in Oklahoma. It didn't touch a single person in Montana. Florida was far away, and nobody in Seattle actually got touched by 9/11. 9/11 was a New York City disaster. However, because New York City is the apple of the nation's eye, New York City is the most iconic location in America. New York City is the place that pulls in all the tourists, and everybody wants to come here and see the ball drop and do all the other weird and touristy things. So when that thing happened, every eye nationally and internationally was glued here, and America as a whole, it was as if somebody had punched just at the heart so hard as to cause arrhythmia, irregular beating of the heart. And the entire nation doubled over on that sore place. 9/11 changed everything that we know about life in the United States. Absolutely everything. And in the same way, when you have a very large natural disaster, a very big natural disaster that's going to challenge relief services, it's going to challenge financial resources, it's going to challenge human resources, who can get to that location in time, who can offer help depending on what's happened and things like that. The entire nation will be locked into looking at what happens wherever this happens. And then he says, while they're dealing with that, he's going to start sending other earthquakes to the point that America's going to be rocking on its foundation. And he said bricks and mortar that everybody has built with will come tumbling down in an earthquake of a magnitude that the United States hasn't seen in 100 years. So 100 years is a long time back. It's late now, and I'm not going to count back, but you that can take 100 away from wherever we are, then you know what year that is. And if you get a natural disaster of that magnitude that you haven't actually seen in 100 years, then of course the first thing is, for the news, it's going to be perfect for them, because they love to use this word historic. They like to always count up the years. First time in 50 years, it's been 100 years since we've seen something like this. So yes, in terms of headlines, but in terms of reality, this is going to be shattering and challenging wherever it will take place. And God says that America is about to have war years introduced with a bang and a crescendo. A big event like that, it's definitely something of a showstopper, an opener into what God is telling us is going to be a new time period. And if you open a time period with a massive earthquake that you know is going to hurt the nation and put the nation on the back foot in terms of being taken aback, then that kind of introduction tells you exactly what kind of time period is coming after that. So I just brought a prophecy about religious figurehead, somebody of notoriety dying, and God saying that death is going to mark a cleanup campaign in the body of Christ, a time when he's going to sharply reinstate order and get us back to the disciplined practice of Christianity. Imagine how that's going to go over with people who, if you tell them what God says about their favorite female political commentator, Candace Owens, then they're coming here and crying like baby goats in my comments for the last 24 hours. I'm going to still like her. I still like her, and I don't think this is true. If this is a nation that you cannot touch a favorite and they be obedient and they say, well, I can clearly say that what God is saying in the message is deception. He's saying that something's not right. It's some type of ain't right. So let me get away from it. If people can't even obey at that lowest of the lowest level, then what do you think is going to happen when this religious figurehead dies and God begins to sharply break the joints of churches and break the joints of Christians? The crying of the baby goats is going to hit crescendo. Exactly as he's saying. He says that America is going to enter into this decade. We're already in the decade. He's just talking about going deeper with crying and pleading for relief to no avail. So there will be no help. People will be doing a lot of, why is this happening, Celestial? And I'm just going to say, there's 600 videos now. Just go and find one and start watching it. Eventually, you will find out why it's happening. Floods, hurricanes, fires, tsunami, landscape and topography falling down. God is basically saying that he's going to crunch up this country and start to rearrange it through natural disasters, fires, floods, hurricanes, mudslides, wind shear, wind chill, excessive heat, as if the summers have not been getting worse already. New York is like touring hell. This was one of the worst that we've had that I can remember for some time. This past summer was just hideosity on bicycle wheels. Every single day was a scorcher. You bathe and the bath was gone, and if you didn't get in the Uber fast enough, well, just too bad for you. It was horrible. And God has said since my older prophecies, it's not called devastation. It's called something. A D prophecy, something like that, where it was just saying that it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter until it's going to become dangerous for older people, and it's also going to become dangerous for children to be outside, because people will start having heat stroke and people will start dying from the heat, the kind of heat that is coming. Monsoon rains. America is not known for monsoon rains. Monsoon rains are the rains that they have in India until you see them carrying their bicycle above their head and the water is at their waist. And they're walking in this kind of way that lets you know that they walked that way last year and the year before and the year before, because that's the kind of rain that they have. It is just rain, 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 rain until the water doesn't go sideways anymore. The water begins to climb upward. And then you just see people like this carrying their daily wares on their head. And they just say, oh, the monsoons have hit India. Oh, the monsoons have hit Indonesia and the Philippines. America doesn't have that kind of rain, but we're certainly starting to see a distinct shift to that kind of weather in this country that is simply not native to the area. It simply is not. And earthquakes and many more things are coming. And God says that the war years of America are here. And let me clarify, God is not talking about war years, because I was saying, Lord, do you mean the war years, the Civil War? Or do you mean the war years when Russia is coming? And the Lord simply said, no. The war years where I fight America. I'm going to fight America personally. She's going to fight me like this. I'm going to fight her back. So you make sure to tell her that the war years, the years where she will fight the God that she claims is her God openly, because she's been fighting me, rebellious, resisting me, and then pretending, throwing a rock and hiding her hand. I'm a child of God. I'm a friend of God. God says no. Going to have an open confrontation. Your war years are here, and I will make war on you with the elements, even as you fight a war at home amongst yourself. You will understand more about that as we go further down the prophecy. America is going to become a nation that is very split. America is going to become a nation that is very divided. I know that people do all their little slogans on social media. They're trying to divide us and they want to conquer us. That's why they're covering this, and they're trying to do a race war. In your hearts, the matches for race war is there. There's nobody trying to do anything. The inbuilt racism of the nation is inside the hearts of its people. All the government has to do is put inflammatory and incendiary content before the eyes of the people, and people just react. People react out of the bias of their heart. And very few people actually see that the government knows that the bias is in there, and all the government has to do is play the right notes, and this country is going to ignite into black versus white versus Asian versus Hispanic versus look at all the foreigners running for the airport. The government knows that. The government has experts who know how the country behaves. Social media is a great indication of how the country behaves. They have these Gen Z, all they do is sit and watch people and add the metrics and say, well, the black people get mad at this and the white people get mad at this. They fight each other over the wrong shade of foundation being put forward in the market. It will get 40,000 comments, the wrong shade of foundation being dropped on the market with not enough colors for everybody's face. So America acts like it's a book that's hard to read, but is it really? No, it's not. There's going to be war at home, and you've heard this for years, that there's going to be a race-related war in this country. There's going to be a haves versus have-nots. People will get sick of seeing mansions and silver rims and diamond rims and gold grills and things like that. People are already canceling celebrities. This is the time that man never thought that they would see coming, but God saw it coming, and it was prophesied here. Some of these celebrities, Beyonce and her husband, are losing followers. Who remembers in the Beyonce prophecies that I said that God showed me that the very fans who love that woman would start to chew her up? Now they're calling her mama human trafficking. Who saw the day? The Holy Spirit saw the day. And I said it here before it started happening. People will be fighting amongst themselves based on gender. People will be fighting among themselves. It'll be man versus woman. It will be sexual orientation, LGBTQ versus straight versus trans versus whoever else is being joined to the bandwagon as we speak. People will be fighting based on skin color. People will be fighting based on economic privileges and demographic, that type of thing. And so all of that is happening. And God said, you thought that he was a God of error because he chose to send a woman to represent you, to represent him. And when he sent his servant, then you took hold of her and dragged her on the ground. That is the decision that you made. And I already said in the beginning that when you disrespect the message and when you disrespect the messenger, you are disrespecting the authority of the message. You are basically saying that God should not speak to you, and God should also not speak to you by the type of person that he decided to speak to you. So whether it was the color of the person, the gender of the person, the anything else about the person that you felt you were too good to be spoken to, you that do these things, not those who are accepting, not those who even humbled themselves to accept it, but those who staunchly refuse and say absolutely not. This is this, I deem this to be this instead of that. God says that basically you imputed to him error. You told him that his choice was wrong. You not only said that his message was a lie, but you told him that the choice of message, because this is what upsets a lot of people, right? They want to hear about human trafficking. They want to hear about sex trafficking for minors. They want to hear about increased rape. They want to hear about blood sacrifice, but they want to hear about it in tones that they can accept. So they sit and they say, well, it's the delivery for me. Well, God will come and he will deliver everything himself. I will fight you for my name's sake, and you will end up being remembered as the nation that could not hear God. You are about to enter your war years. I've made it very clear here to Americans. I don't know how many times I've said it, that people, we will not remain in this nation. And I've already said to you that no matter where you go, you cannot hide with your accent. You can't hide. No matter where you go, the minute you speak, the same way you would travel out before, and when you would speak in Italy, if you would speak in Geneva, if you would speak anywhere you go, then people will say, Americano. And you would say, yeah, with that pride. Now, when you open your mouth, the countenance, the reception, the treatment, all of it will be markedly different. It will be extremely different to the point that you will not want to speak as frequently, and you will definitely not want to speak as loud, because God says you're now going to have a different reputation when you go out, and people will look at what's happening at home, because the same TV that broadcast the Iraqi war, the same TV that covered the suffering of the people in Afghanistan is going to cover the downfall of America, and people will want to be chatty. They will ask you, what do you have to say about that now? How do you feel about what's going on in your country? That is one of the most hurtful and embarrassing things that anybody can ask you, and that is what's going to happen.